parts of the province, so the leader understands what the issues are. One size doesn't fit all, and we know that. Secondly, we need to develop a robust campaign team. Everybody needs to know who's on the team, and it needs to be comprised of all members of the party, from everything from candidates to members at large to youth members and outreach and everything else in between. Because unless we do that, we're going to continue to have the same old closed party with 10,000 members. We're never going to win the next election if we do that. We need to be open and accessible to everyone. And as Premier Davis built the big blue machine, we need to build that big blue tent. And as long as we have a small little group of people running things, we're never going to get there. So we need to blow things up, start over, take a look at everything we do, and it starts by making the party accessible to everyone, and where no one member, including the leader, has any more influence or importance than anybody else. That's what I would do.
Well, I think the process for the party certainly has to change. I would certainly promise that never again will we have a platform where caucus or candidates or riding presidents are hearing about it for the first time on the news. I want to make sure a platform next time is ratified by our team members. I grew up playing hockey, and what I learned about hockey is you play as a team and you win. You play as individuals, you lose. I think as a party we've been playing as individuals, that small group. And so that's certainly a pledge. The policy has to be a reflection of membership. But it's sort of funny in the sense that in the middle of the provincial campaign, there was 32 people on the campaign team. There was a group of people involved in the policy platform. On June 13th, there was only one person. It's funny how it changes. And so what I'd ask you, for those concerned about not having the same mechanics breaking the car again, you should ask every candidate, did you sign the platform? Are people that worked at headquarters and leader's office now running your leadership campaign? Because it's all publicly available. You can Google it. And I'd say this. We need a fundamental change. The same people who were responsible for this disaster, they can't be involved again. We need a fundamental shift in how the party's run.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the house needs to be cleaned. We have to fire people who have been involved in the last 4 campaigns, and quite frankly, the same people have been running elections in the Ontario PC party since 1995. Folks, things have changed. I'm a big fan of former premiers Robarts, Davis, and Harris, but we have to build a modern conservative party going forward. We have to build a new coalition like Stephen Harper has done federally. That's why I put out a bold and aggressive plan to reform the party in Ontario. I want the party members, like in other jurisdictions and other parties around North America, I want party members to vote on the platform. That will stop, I believe, errors coming forward when that policy platform is announced to the public. We have to fundamentally change the culture in this party. It's no different than a broken business model. Our party is very top-down. We have to flip the organizational chart. We have to put the party members at the top and the leader at the bottom. That's how I would run it. I would take the approach the same way we run our family-run business, or family business. I would do the same to the PC party. Thank you.
Well, here's where we are. Over this last campaign, we had 4 different groups, all sort of looking inwards. We had the leader's office, we had the party executive, we had caucus, and we had our members, all sort of aiming their guns inside the circle and shooting at each other. That's exactly what we saw in the last campaign, instead of lining up and fighting the real target, which was the Liberal Party. And we did that to ourselves. Quite frankly, I know Monty, Christine, and Lisa, and myself, we each wrote white papers. I wrote the party's first white paper in May of 2012 on energy. We all traveled. I know going city to city, our former leader had me on an energy tour, 62-city energy tour. When I became finance critic, I did a 30-city finance tour. The #1 topic at every one of these functions was hydro rates. #1 topic, whether it was a food bank or whether it was a chartered bank. That hydro rate was the #1 topic. And all of us, when we opened the platform, we looked for our white papers. I leafed through looking for the big section on hydro. Nothing. Not a word about the most important topic that was covering our province. And the same thing happened to you. We went to a convention a couple years ago in London. There were people that came to the convention. They brought great ideas up through their local association. They brought them to the floor of the convention. I remember watching this one person shaking. He'd never spoke in front of a large crowd before. The paper was shaking, and then the passion came out with this great idea, and it had a vote. It was 85% approved. And I can just imagine her going home and at the election looking in the platform because it was approved by the members with 85% leafing through the platform, and never seeing another word about it again. Her great idea. So that's what we've done, and that's exactly what we need to flip on its head. We need to listen to the members. We need to take those great ideas. We need to vote on them at the convention, and once they're voted on, they need to be part of our policy. We need to listen to our members, we need to listen to our caucus, and we need to listen to you. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Shirley. That was a great question, and thanks for being here today. Shirley West Dindy, very prominent family here in the city of Ottawa, and responsible for our Algonquin College, their trades program that they have there for apprenticeships, which is another issue that I think we could have won on in the last election, talking about the 200,000 jobs we could have created in the province of Ontario. Look, I've been pretty clear. I've been a party activist a long time before I got elected. I think policy actually drives the party, and I think when we engage our members and they feel that they're part of a significant process and they meet people from across the province, we win. Unfortunately, over the last number of years since I've been elected anyway, the Policy Advisory Committee process hasn't really been followed, and it's set out in our Constitution, and I would reinvigorate that as your party leader. That's number one. Number two, I would expand that digitally so that people don't have to travel to Queen's Park to talk to caucus members, but we could do it on a variety of other digital platforms in order for us to connect people from North Bay to Thunder Bay, to Toronto, to Windsor, and here in Ottawa, so that we can actually have an engaging conversation. I've also been very clear that I think, moving forward, that no decisions on platforms should be made without a strong voice from the party executive and a strong voice from caucus, the elected representatives in our party, who can actually vet these ideas. It's extremely frustrating when you put your heart and your soul into researching and traveling the province to talk about key issues. I did it with education, and as Vic had indicated, and then not to see that materialize. Not to see those bold and good ideas that we believe could have reformed Ontario and made it a better place to live, to educate our children, and receive health care in. And that didn't happen. So again, what I would do as your leader is ensure that we expand that policy process and that we ensure that there is a strong voice on the campaign to ensure that caucus, the party executive, and every member has a voice at the decision-making table.
So while I would love to keep our candidates up here all day, I know a couple of them have other engagements, so I'll ask for one more question, please. Sir, yes, in the pink shirt. Yes.
Okay, basically, the point I'm trying to make is, I think as a PC party, we emphasize too much on that, fiscal debt and all this. I mean, for most public, probably 80%, the day they are born, they are in debt anyway. So it doesn't really sink with their mentality. I mean, unless you are 70 years old, you are born in the 30s, probably you understand that. But so that's why I think Harper took over the government. He doesn't talk about cutting debt. He go on bigger deficit, right? So I think the fundamental concept I'm trying to say is wrong. People just could not understand that.
Sorry, was there a question in there, sir?
The question is the party overemphasize on that. People don't understand.
Okay. All right, gotcha. Okay, so the question was about the focus on debt, and is the party spending too much emphasis on debt? So we'll go back to our original order.
The extra work of getting the microphone down. It's much more fun to follow Vic. Look, ladies and gentlemen, that's a great question, Tim, because I'll tell you something. We have, over the past number of years, I would say the past 4 elections, stopped talking about what we actually stand for. I believe that our Progressive Conservative Party stands for a number of things. Who here among us doesn't agree that we need to live within our means, but at the same time we must help those who can't help themselves? We've stopped talking about that because we become balance sheet conservatives only. We have stopped talking about child protection and safer streets. When I spoke with the OPPA this summer, they started telling me that they started to verge away from our party because we haven't been talking about law and order anymore. That is our core and values as progressive conservatives. And again, we need to talk about a strong economy. There is no doubt about that. That's what drew me to Ontario. That's what drew so many other people from around the world and across this great nation to come back here to Ontario for the land of opportunity. But at the same time, we cannot run elections and exclude talking about healthcare and education. That is 70% of the provincial budget, and if we want to be credible to people in ridings we don't have, we have to talk to them about issues that they think about and the issues that they send members to Queen's Park on. So as your leader, Tim, and to everybody else here, I take that seriously. I believe we have many elements in our party that they may have divergent interests from time to time, but can be brought together. And that's why I've appointed as my campaign manager Phil Murphy, who was Stephen Harper's chief of staff at Merger, and to be my campaign manager, and Steve Copeland, who worked for Brian Mulroney and for Joe Clark, to be my deputy campaign manager. I want to respect every single element of our party, every single wing of our party, and make sure that you feel comfortable in the Progressive Conservative Party, and that we start talking about issues that are important to you and Ontarians. Thank you.
Here's how I like to talk about that topic. You know, when you think about the fact that for 93 consecutive months, Ontario had higher than the average national unemployment. 93 consecutive months. And why? Because businesses like to locate in a province that is well managed. So when you see this $12.5 billion deficit this year, as I mentioned earlier, up from $10.5 billion last year, up from $9.2 billion the year before, let's talk about the consequences of that. So this year, what we saw, because we have a $12.5 billion deficit and a government that's trying to patch together, they cut physiotherapy for seniors from 100 times a year to 4. That's a direct consequence, Tim. That's the kinds of things we should talk about. They cut cataract surgeries in Ontario by 39 days. I was flying to Toronto just some time ago in March, and I flew with my ophthalmologist, and I said to him, Ken, what are you doing on the plane here in the middle of the day? His office is packed all the time. He said the government shut us down, told us we can't come back until the new fiscal year, April 1. 39 fewer days of cataract surgeries because we have a deficit. They cut diabetes testing strips.